Welcome back. As you know, I'm Eli, the computer guy, over here for the Daily Blob, where we say, I'm gonna go take a nap. Can you just wake me up in like 3.5 years? I'm just gonna go to sleep for 3.5 years. And hopefully when I wake up, all of this insanity is gonna be over. Anyways, I get a lot of pushback from my viewers. Eli, why do you talk about Trump? Why do you talk about politics? This is supposed to be a tech channel. And yes, well, because sadly, Trump and politics are more important to the tech world right now than GPU speed or IOPS or whatever else. And our president, apparently, as I say, if you have a hammer, everything you see is a nail. And so the Trump feels that he has tariffs, and so everything is something that can be tariffed. And it's gonna get bad. It's gonna get. I think that's one of the funny things. Like, I get pushback from the people that are still like MAGA. They're like, you just got TDS. It's like, dude, I don't care what you believe. I don't care what you believe. Economics doesn't give a fuck about your feelings. Also doesn't give a fuck about my feelings either. I have the experience of having a college degree, military experience, real world experience with $500,000 build outs and the whole 9 yards, and getting laid off from a pizza delivery job. I have that real world experience. Why? Because the macro blew the fuck up. Oh, so anyways, you're like, TDS, don't worry. This shit show is gonna hit all of us. When Gallagher takes his sledgehammer and hits that watermelon full of shit, everybody gets splattered. You're a Democrat, you're independent, you're a Republican, you don't even know what the hell you just showed up for and you're trying to get out of the audience. When that sledgehammer comes down, everybody gets covered. That's what the issue we're dealing with the Trump administration right now, because everything is a tariff. And a 15% tariff didn't scare you? Well, maybe a 20% tariff will scare you. Oh, that doesn't scare you? Maybe a 50% tariff will scare you. Oh, that doesn't scare you? Maybe. So yeah, what we're currently dealing with is Trump plans 100% tariff on semiconductors with some big exemptions. And we talk about semiconductors, chips, right? That's everything from the computers to the camera that I'm talking into to these things. These got processors. Everything has processors in it nowadays. And so, yes, he is talking about a 100% tariff on semiconductors. So think about this. All of your servers, all of the GPUs in the servers, all of that kind of stuff. Imagine if every single chip basically gets doubled at the wholesale price. Unless you slobber on the ring, which is going to create mass distortions, right? We might actually get to a point where Apple computers become the affordable option because any player that's not as big as Apple can't kiss Trump's ring hard enough to get away from the tariffs. Like, President Trump said Wednesday that he plans to impose 100% tariffs on, quote, all chips and semiconductors coming into the United States. All. With a big carve-out for companies that have committed to making them here. Trump said he'll exempt chip companies that are making their goods here or have begun building plants here. If you're building in the United States of America, there's no charge, he said. I think the chip companies are all coming back home. And that's basically about it. He's talking about putting these 100% tariffs on the chips that are coming in the United States, unless they're building them here or unless they're pretending to build plants here. I will remind you the Foxconn plant in Wisconsin. Remember when Trump was so proud about that Foxconn plant in Wisconsin, right? Eminent domain went through. People who had owned their farms for God knows how long had their farms taken away because this was going to revolutionize the United States. And then there isn't much of a factory. There isn't much of a factory there, and the people still lost their lands. But hey, Trump got to have a sound bite for a couple of minutes. And that's what matters to the TV president, right? So now he's talking about these 100% tariffs for chips coming in. And what will that look like from a practical stance? Who the hell knows, right? Because that's one of the things. Like when you look at a computer, all right, the chips are one component of the computer. So if you double the wholesale cost of the chips, how does that actually work out at the end of the day? It's a hell of a question mark. But the interesting thing with this is Apple apparently has come out and is able to avoid the 100% chip tariff because they've said they're going to invest another $100 billion theoretically in manufacturing in the United States. Ergo, they get away from the chip tariff. So if you're a small company and you don't have the wherewithal to bribe the Trump administration, you're going to get screwed. But if you're a massive company with all the money in the world, well, you can grease enough hands to make sure that you continue to be successful. Because this is the American way in 2025, right? The true American way in 2025 under the Trump administration is, do you have enough money to pay off the Trump administration? If you do, life's gonna be easy. If not, maybe your leg's gonna get broken. So it'll be, I don't know. It's gonna be curious to see how this goes forward. From a practical stance, since I'm supposed to be a teacher, Silicon Dojo, if we move to Austin, wherever we move next, we're going to be moving to a place with a lot larger population. Silicon Dojo is coming back. We're going to be doing real in-person technology education again, probably in Austin. We'll see. Anyways, so I'm supposed to be a teacher. What I would have you be thinking about this from an academic standpoint or an educator standpoint is questioning what your refresh cycles should look like. So what refresh cycles are basically how often you replace systems. Again, computers, right? So you hand everybody computers in your environment. And the question is what is the natural cycle for replacing them? So back in the corporate world 20 years ago, our refresh cycle was about every 3 years. The idea being is literally back then, every 3 years, computers got massively better. So if your line employees had older computers, they were pretty much crap after 3 years. So you just go in, and however many computers were in the field, essentially every 3 years, you replaced all of those. As I've said, computers have gotten a lot better over the past number of years, and so you can definitely push out the refresh cycles to every 5 years at this point. I think one of the curious things about what Trump is doing and with tariffs and all that kind of thing is starting to think about things like your refresh cycles and asking, are you doing them appropriately? Can you keep systems being useful and profitable for your company longer? Right? We just did that fireside chat with the CTO, Sean Urbas, and he was talking about, so he's CTO. He is CTO of a 7-figure ARR company, and he uses an M1 MacBook Pro. And basically what he said is every single computer that he uses is actually kind of one of the cast-offs of his employees. So his employees get the best computers since they're the actual line employees doing all the work. And then he needs a decent computer, but it's mainly checking emails and Slack and all that kind of crap. So as CTO of the company, he uses an M1 MacBook Pro. I think an interesting thing to be thinking about here is basically the idea of how can you start reshuffling systems within your environment to keep them running as long as possible? Or other things, like for a lot of companies, the idea of buying used systems, going to backmarket.com and buying computers for your employees. That might seem a little like, I just prefer to buy new. But the thing is, with all of these tariffs, and God, like the The tariffs are so, I don't even know what the fuck's going on with the tariffs, right? Like India now has a 50% tariff. So like China has a tariff and India has a 50% tariff and Canada has tariff. Everybody has tariffs, right? And so one of the things to be thinking about, and those are all taxes, right? That's massive taxes. So if this is a, let's say this is a $3,000 computer, and let's say Apple is able to assemble it for $1,500 because they get a great profit margin, right? If you're talking about a 30% tariff, that means you're going to pay $450 in taxes just to get your hands on this, right? Anyways, so you're looking at 450. And then the funny part is that all gets added into the cost. So then when you pay sales tax, you're paying $3,000. Now you're paying $3,450 plus sales tax on top of that. And so one of the things to be considering is maybe used is the way to go. With a lot of technology professionals nowadays, one of the fascinating things that I find is they don't really think about resource cost. For me back in the day, right? Resource costs mattered. How much RAM you put in a system, how much bandwidth. Like you monitored individual servers and systems for things like CPU utilization and RAM utilization on all that type of thing. And there were numbers, right? If you saw 80% CPU utilization over an hour or whatever during the day, that meant that you should probably upgrade the system. But if you didn't see that, right, then you don't. You just leave that system in place. And I think that's one of the curious things for a lot of the young people nowadays is they really just do not think about resource costs. I've talked about this before with architecture, right? I'm an old school systems guy. I fucking love architecture. I start talking about architecture, it's over. I'll just talk about architecture all day long. I love the concept of architecture, right? Because it's the idea of how you design these systems. And for a lot of folks, they really haven't had to think about that a lot. They just get the company credit card, swipe the company credit card, and buy whatever the fuck it is that they need, right? As investment gets siphoned into AI instead of other things, as investment gets cut down, as revenue gets cut down, as these tariffs and these taxes go through the fucking roof, I think it's going to become more and more important for you to think about the cost of resources and how you can optimize things, right? Are you using caching systems? Are you, for things like storage, right? Are you re-encoding? If you have videos or images that could be large, are you using something like FFmpeg or Handbrake or something else to re-encode those things down to a smaller version so it doesn't cost you as much? Whether you should use a virtualized desktop VDI, virtualized desktop infrastructure, or things like that. I think this is stuff that you really need to start considering in 2025 because these unseen costs are just gonna get insane. And this stuff just changes on a fucking dime. What? Like 100% tariff on chips? What are you fucking talking about? Right, I just talked, the last video I did, he now has export tariffs, right? NVIDIA and AMD have to pay 15% export tariffs if they're gonna export GPUs to China. Like all of these things are coming the fuck out of nowhere. So it's very important that you start really understanding the costs in your environment. How much do things cost? How much do resources cost? How much do individual users cost? How much do your employees cost? Can you shift costs? Can you squirrel? Can you do different things to try to mitigate the expenses? I think this is going to be a big thing for 2025, and really for the rest of the Trump presidency. Right? Trump has already come out. Trump has already come out and put Great Recession on the table. Out of Trump's mouth is a second Great Depression. And with these policies, yeah. So anyways, there you go. Some things to ponder. What do you think about 100% tariffs on silicon, on processors and such, unless the company has enough money to grease his nasty ass palms? What do you think about all this? Go ahead, just give me a thumbs down. I'm not even gonna ask for the thumbs up. Don't give me a thumbs up. Just fucking give me those thumbs down. Leave me a nasty comment about how dumb I am. I just don't understand. Oh, holy hell. Anywho, that's all I gotta say for today. With that, see y'all later.